Hey everyone, it's Miss Gibson, and today we are going to talk about some Thanksgiving traditions. Some people get together with their family and friends, some people cook certain foods. So, the book we're going to read today is about a group of friends who do just that. This book is called A Turkey for Thanksgiving. It's written by Eve Bunting and illustrated by Diane DeGroat, and I hope you like it. It was Thanksgiving morning. Mr. Moose helped Mrs. Moose set the Thanksgiving table. Sheep will sit here. He likes a chair that's straight up and down, Mr. Moose said. Rabbit here, Porcupine here, Mr. and Mrs. Goat here. He smiled at his wife. Isn't it nice to have friends to share Thanksgiving? Mrs. Moose said 2 paper pilgrims, one at each end of the table. She placed the paper turkey with its great fan of a tail between the candles and stood back. They look good, my dear, Mr. Moose said. Mrs. Moose sighed. Yes, but I wish we had a real turkey. Everyone always has a turkey for Thanksgiving. Everyone but us. Mr. Moose nuzzled Mrs. Moose's head. Well, that won't do. I will go this minute and find you a turkey for Thanksgiving. Mr. Moose put on his cap and went out. Mist wandered through the bare trees. The cold made his nose water. Rabbit poked his head from his rabbit hole. Mr. Moose, is it dinner time? Not quite yet. Mrs. Moose wants a turkey. I'm off to find one. Rabbit joined him in 3 quick hops. I'll come too. Moose's warm breath hung white in front of him. Snow crunched under his hooves and made little holes that Rabbit jumped over. I see the goats, Rabbit said. Mr. Goat raised his head and spat out the tin can he was chewing. Is it dinner time? He called. Not till I find a turkey, Mr. Moose said. We saw one down by the river, Mrs. Goat told him, and Mr. Goat added, a fat one. The goats leaped down from their perch. We'll show you. Sheep was farther up the hillside, looking round as a fur ball in his winter coat. Is it dinner time? He bellowed. First I have to find a turkey, Mr. Moose bellowed back. There's a turkey nest on the riverbank, Sheep called. Wait for me. The earth smelled of ice and moss as they crunched along. Above them a crow hung, black as a puff of wood smoke. Porcupine was hiding in the underbrush. It's you, he said and put his quills down. We're off to get a turkey for Mrs. Moose, Mr. Moose explained. Do you want to come? I'm slow, Porcupine said. Pick me up on your way back. Who'd want to pick you up? Sheep asked and laughed his bleat of a laugh. I'll wait, Porcupine told Mr. Moose. They saw Turkey's nest right away, and Turkey himself peering over the top of it. Turkey! Turkey! Mr. Moose called in his sweetest voice. Ah! Turkey blundered from his nest and ran. Mr. Moose lumbered after him. Turkey, don't run! We just want you for Thanksgiving dinner! Turkey ran faster. Mr. Moose saw the red and blue sheen of Turkey's neck. Turkey's tail brushed crumbs of snow behind him as he tried to fly. Too fat, Mr. Goat said. Turkey's legs bent in the middle as he fell. Mr. Moose put a booted hoof on his head and smiled his great toothy smile. I hope you don't have other plans for Thanksgiving, Turkey. He helped Turkey up. My wife won't mind that you're too fat, he said. Let's go. It's getting close to dinner time. They marched Turkey in front. I'm sorry about this, for I can see you don't want to come, Mr. Moose said. But I must insist. A promise is a promise. There was a wreath of dried fruit on the moose's door. Inside, the house was filled with Thanksgiving smells. Mr. Moose hid Turkey behind him. Look who I brought, Mrs. Moose, he said. Sheep, the goats, Rabbit, and Porcupine. And ta-da! He pushed Turkey around in front of him. For you! A turkey for Thanksgiving! Mrs. Moose clapped her hooves. I'm so happy to have you, Turkey. Thank you, Mr. Moose. Now everything's perfect. Shall we sit? Sheep asked, heading for the straight up and down chair. Let's, Mrs. Moose pointed. Rabbit here, Porcupine here, Mr. and Mrs. Goat here, and look! I brought a chair from the other room in hopes of turkey. A chair? Turkey stammered. Right next to me, Mrs. Moose said. Light the candles, Mr. Moose. There were bowls of acorns and alfalfa sprouts, dried since summer. There was willow bark and cured grasses and wild parsley. There were pressed leaves, thin and pale as new ice on a pond. I hope you find something here to your liking, Mr. Turkey, Mrs. Moose said. I wasn't sure of your taste. You are so kind to worry about my taste, Turkey said. I thought you'd be worrying about how I'd taste. Heavens, no! Mr. Moose smiled his big-toothed smile and filled everyone's cup with cold spring water. It's so nice to have friends around the table at Thanksgiving. Turkey's wattles wobbled. It's even nicer to be at your table and not on it, he said. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, Turkey. Now that we've read A Turkey for Thanksgiving, we are going to do a turkey art project. This project is going to involve lots of patterns and color families, and I can't wait for you guys to get started. So you're going to need blank paper and a pencil, and then either markers or crayons. Let's see what you create. To start our very own turkey for Thanksgiving, we're going to make sure our paper is in portrait orientation. That is when the longer sides are on the left and right, and the shorter sides are at the top and the bottom. So we're going to start in about the center of our page and make most of a circle. This is going to be our turkey's head. So we're not going to do the bottom because that's where it's going to hook into our body. Now we're going to make an oval to connect to our circle. So I've got the turkey's head and the turkey's body. We're going to add some feet at the bottom. So to do that, you're going to draw a straight line, and then you're going to add your 3 lines coming off of it to make our turkey feet. Next, we will start with our turkey's feathers. You're going to make 2 feathers on top of his head that go pretty much to the top of your page. We are going to make nice big feathers here. No small feathers. So when you have these first 2, they're kind of like bunny ears, but we're not going to have a turkey bunny. We're going to add some more feathers. We are going to add more feathers, nice big feathers to go almost to the edge of our page. And we're going to finish up our last feather about where our turkey's neck is. We're going to do that on the other side as well. So we're going to add 2 more nice big feathers, and then our last feather is going to be right here at our turkey's neck. So we're done with our turkey's body shape, the feet, and the feathers. Now we're going to give him a face. So we're going to give our turkey 2 circles for eyes. And then his beak is going to be an upside down triangle. So you're going to draw your straight line and your 2 lines coming down. And then your turkey needs a wattle. And then we're going to give him a heart in the center, just because it's Thanksgiving, and like our turkey said in our book, it's always good to be with friends and family. So first, we have finished our turkey's outline. Now that our outline's finished, it's time for the fun part. We are going to add different patterns on all of our feathers. So you can do this one of 2 ways. You can put a different pattern on each feather, or you can pick 2 or 3 patterns and alternate them. I'm just going to show you some examples of different patterns you can use. So for example, I might want to start at the bottom, and I might want to put a zigzag pattern on this feather. So you are just going to make this be whatever you want it to be. And if you keep watching, I'm going to have for you a sheet of examples of different patterns. So you will have different things to pick from. So you can be as careful or as not careful as you want to be. I'm just going to continue with my zigzag pattern. until I get to the end of the feather. I could make my lines wider. Remember, these are yours. They can look however you want them to. And you don't even have to use my pattern examples. It's just there for you in case you run out of ideas. So for my next one, I think I'm going to do some little loops. Might fill in with different colors here. Now remember, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 feathers. So you can do 4 of each, or you can just split it down the middle. But either way, keep going with your patterns until you have your entire turkey tail finished. Now that our outline's finished, it's time to color. So first we're going to make our turkey brown. So this is going to be the body section and head of your turkey. We are just going to make sure it's a nice brown turkey, kind of like the turkey in our book. And again, you can use crayons or markers or colored pencils. I'm just using crayons for this one because I think it'll be easier for our turkey feathers. And you know, you can mix it up if you want. You can use crayons for some parts and markers for others. It's all up to you and your preference. You know that there are some times when I like to use markers best and sometimes when I like to use crayons. My personal preference is just crayons for this part. Now that we have our turkey filled in, I'm going to use some yellow for our turkey's beak. And then I'm going to use red for the turkey's wattle and for the heart. Now for my favorite part, we are going to color in our feathers. So we're going to use fall colors. I have all of the oranges and reds and yellows and browns out of my crayon box. These are the colors I'm going to use. If you want to use other colors, that's fine. But I'm just going to start with some of my feathers. And I'm just going to pick some of these colors and start filling in just to make it nice and blended. So again, your turkey feathers can look however you want them to. But I'm going to use these fall colors like in our book. Everything was in these nice muted colors and they looked very fall and Thanksgiving-y. So you can just pick which patterns you'd like to use. You can do the same patterns over and over because you can see I chose to do 2 different patterns on my feathers and just repeat them. So I've got 4 of each. However, if you chose to do a different pattern on each of your feathers, then all of your feathers will probably end up looking a little bit different. It's going to look amazing either way. You're just going to keep alternating your colors. Or if you would just like to use 2 colors for each feather, that's fine too. Again, it's your pattern, it's your feather on your turkey. This part is going to take you the longest, but it's the part that's going to make your turkey stand out the most. Now that our feathers are finished, we've got one last thing we can do to finish our turkey picture. He's just on this white background, and if you like it that way, you can definitely keep it. But if you want to give him kind of a background, like he's standing on some grass, we can just take our pencils and draw kind of a little wavy line behind him. And from there, we will take our green for some grass and just kind of lightly fill in right there to make it look like he's got grass behind him. I'm not trying to be super precise with this. I just want to give him a little bit of a background so that we don't have the white of our paper just behind our turkey. But again, if you would rather have him that way, that is totally fine. We're going to do the same thing with blue for our sky, and I'm just going very, very lightly. You probably should use a blue that's not quite as dark as this one. So I'm just going to color very lightly around our turkey so that it'll look like there's a little bit of sky back there. But I just don't want it to be too dark to take away from all of our beautiful feathers. So just make sure you don't get your blue on top of your feathers or on top of your turkey. So I'm just coloring very lightly along my edges. And you're going to keep doing that until there is no white at all left on your paper. And there you have it, our finished turkey drawing. So we have our different patterned feathers. We've got our turkey, we've got our heart for our friends and family, and we have a background. So there's no white at all left on my paper. But again, if you just want to do your turkey, that's totally fine too. I can't wait to see what you guys did for your turkeys. Remember, you can send it to me on Google Classroom or have it ready for our next Google Meet. Can't wait to see it. I really didn't see that ending coming, so I hope you enjoyed A Turkey for Thanksgiving by Eve Bunting. Now you can go on and do your own Thanksgiving traditions.